What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite dating coach, Elliot Scott. And as you can see by the title below, we're going to talk about how to tell somebody you love them without them pulling away. Now, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Just click the red button below. Also, I have a second channel I'm going to put up. It's actually already up, where I'm going to live stream live. We can interact live, right? For about 3 to 5 times a week. I will have that in the description below, also alongside the comments. Okay, so you just click there, subscribe. I love you forever and ever and ever. You just come over, we can live stream, talk, chill, get to know each other, build a community, so on and so forth. It would mean the world to me. Okay, so with that being said, how do you tell a guy you love him the correct way, in my opinion, without pushing him away? The reason I wanted to make this video was I just had a client who, this wasn't the main topic we were talking about, but she wanted to say it. And she was kind of asking me if she should. Now, disclaimer, I'm not saying you don't have to say it or you should say it, whatever. It's obviously a gut feeling. What you want to do you, boo, kind of thing, okay? I just want to kind of give you a little different way of looking at it, or some substance on some things to think about if you're about to say it, okay? Now, her whole thing was, she didn't really argue, but she said that, about when it comes to masculine and feminine energy, the feminine energy should not say it. She was like, I'll be on my feminine if I say it, right? And I told her, absolutely not. Now, the first thing, I want to talk about 3 different things, and the first, look at that guy back there. What the hell? That's a woman. Oh, well, I'm going to hell for that one. But there's 3 things I want to talk about, okay? And the first is the masculine and feminine energy when it comes to the word I love you. I think I love you is one of those neutral things, and here's why. The job as the masculine energy, is to provide and satisfy, okay? His job is to court a woman, win a woman over, show his worth in some way, just those kind of things. A woman likes a masculine man who has a good head on his shoulders, who takes care of himself, who wants to be a better person, and also give to her, okay? Now, I don't mean that as a materialistic way. That could be in many different ways, okay? And at the same time, a guy wants to do that because a guy's self-worth a lot of the times is wrapped up in women, or how women think of them. Now, not all people, I'm not saying 100%, but you do have to take in mind that if a guy cannot attract a woman, then by definition, in some way, he is sterile, right? He's not going to have he's sterile. He can't attract a woman to sleep with. Not that that's what it's about. I'm just saying in general, if you look at it from an organism perspective, survive and reproduce, that's an important concept to think about. Now, because of that, because a guy's so wrapped up in providing and satisfying and the self-worth correlated to a woman, that a woman's feminine energy is communication. It's to communicate, hey, you know what? I like you too. You're doing a great job. I love what you do. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. You're so amazing. I appreciate you and everything you do. All that kind of stuff, right? And it completes that cycle. The guy provides and satisfies, the girl communicates, and then, of course, everyone has a little bit of both, and then it just all works. Oh, look at that. See, look at it. It's just working together, and all comes around, okay? I always like to use the analogy of dancing. If you're both strongly in your feminine, it's very loose. It's all over the place, and no one takes lead. If you're both in your masculine, it's very hard. It's very tense, and you're fighting over lead. But when one's in their masculine and one's in their feminine energy, you start to flow and you complement each other. One's not stronger than the other. They're both needed for each other, but you start complementing and flowing together, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, it's okay for the masculine energy to say it because his job is to provide and satisfy. He knows the woman wants to say it or wants to hear it. He means, not all the time. I'm just saying when you get to that level, he obviously is going to mean it when he says it, or he should. And there's just a lot of benefits to saying it, right? You're at that level, you're feeling it, you want to say it, she probably wants to hear it, not literally wanting to hear it, but you know what I mean. And vice versa. For the woman, I think it's okay for the woman to say it, again, when you get to that level and you're both ready, because I feel like when a woman says it, as communicating to the guy, I really care for you and everything you've done for me. It's just a different way of showing affection, okay? That's number one. Now I have my notes over here. Okay, number two, I always tell women, when it comes to saying it, you gotta look at the pros versus cons. In this situation with the girl, my client, I told her, she was wanting to say it, okay? But she was like, I become very vulnerable when I say, or when you do say it, you're very vulnerable and things like that. I'm like, and we came to a conclusion that she might have some insecurities, that she's looking for validation and things like that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the pros and cons of saying it. What are the pros? And there's not really a lot of pros in saying it if you're not past a certain point where I think it needs to be said, but when you're on the same page and it's like, hey, I love you. Then it just adds a whole new spark and a whole new view and outlook and, rose-colored lenses, in a good way, of course, to the relationship. It's a great thing. But if you're saying it too early, too soon, out of fear, maybe of losing the guy or needing to express it, and things like that, I think it's going to do more harm than good, right? If you're doing it for validation, or like I know a lot of women, for example, who, want the title of a relationship. And I always ask them, why do you want it? And it always comes down to insecurity, validation. They want to know that they're on the same page, which is understandable, the same page with the guy and stuff like that. And I tell them, if you're doing it for validation or you're doing it for security, you're wanting the relationship for the wrong reasons. And I think the word I love you is the same thing. I think if a lot of people say it early, it loses its meaning. Now, of course, I am not saying that you don't love the guy. I am not saying that you don't feel it if you say it early. But we all, as society, know that the word gets thrown around a lot. And I will take a woman more seriously in the beginning if she says, I like you, I really like you, instead of her saying, I really love you. Because everyone says that. You say it to your friends, your family, everybody, okay? So when it comes to pros and cons, you have to weigh it out by saying it. The cons might be saying it too early might freak him out. He might pull away. He might not be on the same page. It might add a different outlook or context to the relationship and things like that. But of course, if you say it at the right time, I think it can add a lot of value, which gets me on to number three, which is saying it when there's no threat, okay? I think the right time to say it is when you don't feel vulnerable when you say it. When you need to say it, but when you do say it, it's going to only add value and it's going to shine some light or bring to life that already happy, healthy relationship. Like you all know, when you say it, it's just a good feeling, because when you say it and they mean it, it is a wonderful, wonderful and very beautiful thing. So I think women should say it and guys should say it when not only they're ready, but when I think it's at the level where, I can open up and not be judged. I can open up and not worry about him pulling away. I can open up and not do it for validation. I can open up and not worry he's going to think of me different, freak out, run away, and then the whole relationship's ruined, right? That's very important to me. That's when I usually would say it, is when I not only feel it, but when I think it's, okay, it's time. Not just because you feel it doesn't mean it's time, okay? So with that being said, again, looking over here again, I'm going to sum it up. Saying I love you is more masculine and feminine. It's not just one, it's both. Both masculine and feminine complement each other. Number two, weigh the pros and cons when you say it. I think a lot of people just think, okay, I'm going to say it to say it, because I feel it. There's more substance than that with that word, okay? So be very wary with it. That's why people get that whole, we have a negative connotation with the word, because everyone just says it because they feel it. You feel it, I know I'm doing this and it might be insulting to some people, but I think a lot of people think they're in love when they're not. I felt that before. And I'm not saying you can't fall in love more than once. You could, but you know what I'm saying. I think as a society, we agree the word's thrown around a lot. And of course, I think that you should say it when there's no threats. Now, a lot of people might take that the wrong way, which is, oh, it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't even think of it. Listen, this is reality, sweetheart. There's people who, I hate when people have this negative connotation with what I'm about to say, but people think, oh, you should say it, you'll be okay. There shouldn't be a threat. No. There's times where people say it and others pull away. There's times where people say it and things change. There's times where people say it and you're not on the same page. Okay, that's just reality. Get that foo-foo positive affirmation, enlightenment bullshit out of the way. You got to be a realist when it comes to this stuff. It doesn't matter how real you want to be or how positive you are. You're the one saying it. All comes to his feedback, and it comes to how he's you're communicating to him, right? How he's receiving it. That's what's important. Okay, so with that being said, ladies, I love you. Take care and peace.